Yo, 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 welcome back to the True Fitness Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Adrian Conway. Wow, we are 2 weeks into the open. 2 out of the 3 weeks are wrapped. I got to be a part of the show. If you watched it and tuned in live, thank you. It was a blast. We were there at CrossFit in Incendia there in Arizona. I think Dave echoed appropriately that the crowd was amazing, the atmosphere was amazing, and it seems to be that they have an amazing affiliate and not real competitive driven, right? Like this is something that I'd like to echo to almost every existing affiliate and affiliate owner out there is that, the strongest communities that I tend to roll through are those that aren't focused around competition, and those that do have high level competitors are deeply entrenched in investing in the community, meaning that they're the head coaches, they are some of the coaches, they're teaching clinics, they're doing things to help highlight some of their natural physical gifts and bringing it to the community, not just trying to take from the community and have all the attention and do the thing and make all the money. And this is something that we see, in my opinion, rampant within our community right now. Um, and I think it's a part of a generational thing. And I'm going to rant for a moment about this, but I made a post earlier this week about being an elite level CrossFit Games athlete does not bring value intrinsically to the community. People don't really care what you're doing, right? Unless they know that you care about them equally. And so many of our competitors now are disassociating with the community. And I don't mean not signing up for the open. So this isn't a stab at anyone that chose to sit out this year's open due to whatever reason that they felt was valid. I'm more so talking to the competitors globally, right? Like from even within the last 6-7 years of the sport, is that as we've transitioned to athletes trying to make it a full-time pursuit, they've distanced themselves from the community that makes them superstars. And as I ran about this for a moment, athletes, please don't take offense to the way that I respect your capacities, the way that I respect what you do. But I want to say that to the world at large, you are merely an average athlete. And while I admire and respect what your accomplishments are, the approach, the tenacity, the focus, the commitment that it takes to be able to do 30 unbroken ring muscle ups or run a 5 minute mile and also back squat 500 pounds to carry those kind of capacities is absolutely phenomenal. To the world, though, you are merely an average sportsman. And so to think that you can exist outside of our community and make the dollars and carry the interest and get the eyes on you that you think you probably deserve from an investment and financial investment perspective, you're absolutely foolish. And I say that because they can find high schoolers that back squat 500 pounds and run a 5 minute mile. I saw people do it that ran high school track, and they might not be able to do ring muscle ups. That's because they only don't know how to do that. It's impressive as you do it through adulthood and carry those capacities and continue to do all these new skills and drills. But again, to the layman's eyeball, it's like, well, why would I not go watch Thor deadlift 1,100 pounds while I'm watching these guys deadlift almost 600 pounds? Right? Or why would I watch these average athletes run a 5 minute mile when I can go watch people run sub 4 minute miles? And I can find athletes regionally in my high school area that all run their sub 430 miles. So it's again, don't forget where you come from and who really carries the weight in bringing you value and the opportunity to carry these sponsors and to get eyes on. Again, I respect because I'm from within the community. I know. And so does the community know and understand. They do the same style of training you do. They know why you're elite. They know why you're a pro. They know these things. Don't ever stop investing in this community that you come from, because we are the ones that lift you up and put you on the pedestal. The rest of the world is too foreign to understand and to respect and admire what you go through and what you do. And so that's my rant for today. That's why I wanted to say I think there's value in you coaching, you committing, you being outside of yourself and your focus. I think people that come down with all these mental issues and emotional issues that need to be separated from the sport is because they're too concerned with themselves. This is a whole different issue, but it's not about you, and you don't need to be full-time to do the thing. And I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that you could need to completely be full-time to do the thing. I think that you need to navigate your recovery and your training and do so the way that you need to. And I think that you can still coach part-time. I think that you can still do a part-time thing. And I think that athletes will go the furthest who have the most balance in their life. And I know that sounds crazy. AC, you're talking balance. Well, I should be all in. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Yeah. You're probably not David Goggins. And if you asked him to do anything full speed or at a max lift or do the things that you're asked and demanded to do, you can't just hide behind training volume and this commitment behind like, I'm going to beat my body to a pulp. And athletes that are good and at a high level know this and understand this. If you want to have some mental relief and stress, invest in other people, invest in other people's journeys, and they're going to invest back in you. Rant over. Let's talk about 25.2. I was talking about the community at Incendia. That's what led me to that rant. Amazing community, amazing experience. Sydney Wells and Emily Rolfe both crushed it. I was honored to be a part of that. Now, 25.2 was 22.3. Okay. There were a lot of things to unpack here, but first I want to take a look at the leaderboard. So I'll screen share this thing with you guys so I can kind of chat through it. Colton Mertens, not a surprise, right? Like to anyone who understands the demand of this up-down sport that often really hits us hard in the open. If you predicted anyone else to win, you just don't know much about the thing, and that's okay. But you just don't know much about the thing. So 361 for him, first place worldwide. 401, 25.2. Wow, it's crazy, but like he could do this under 4 minutes, and that's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Colin Bouchard coming in to me out of nowhere. While it's not a completely unfamiliar name, killing it. Jeff Adler, gonna still, from my perspective, because I know how he can run and I know how strong he is, this is the most impressive performance so far. Because when you start going down this list and you're searching for the most well-rounded athletes, Jeff Adler's the first one at the top that I see is a threat in any and everything that we can pursue in the sport of fitness. Making our way down, Austin Hatfield, rookie last year, top 10 performance. Trying to put people on notice and trying to be consistently at the top, and I like it. I like his mindset. I like his social presence. I think that he has enough candor within the space that shows me that he's mentally confident in himself and wants to compete and go toe-to-toe with the big boys. This is something that is important as an analyst that I look for when I start to think about who I can predict to step up or step out when the lights shine. If you've kind of hidden behind pressures or didn't want to step up and be in the forefront of competition throughout the year, it's hard to bet on or predict that athletes like that will do well when the lights get shining bright and the pressure becomes very heavy on their shoulders. But I like what I'm seeing from Austin Hatfield, Dallin Pepper to round off the top five, killing it. The biggest body there in the top five. For him to go third and 11th on these is very impressive. 432 on this workout with his wingspan and his frame is extremely, extremely impressive. To go back and note his video as well, breaking up the bar muscle ups 10 and 5 like a pro so that he could not reach failure on the final 15 thrusters and not run into a sticking point. Now, could he have gone unbroken? For sure he could have. Would that have been the right thing? I don't know. Would he have lost a few seconds? Probably, because maybe his cycle rate slows on the thrusters. Maybe he has to pause for a moment overhead in the last 5 reps just to make sure he locks it out. Whatever example you want to use or look into, these are things as a coach I look into, and clearly as an analyst that stand out to me. Athletes with self-awareness go the furthest in this sport. I would argue that it's not always even the fittest, right? If I could go get blood samples and tissue samples from athletes and go test VO2 maxes, which a lot of you nerds are into, you go do that. And the fittest person that you'll find from all that raw data won't be the fittest person that wins the CrossFit Games, because self-awareness is so important, because towing the line is so important, because stopping on purpose before the movement stops you or before the workout stops you is everything. That was just top of the line, A+ pacing by Dallin Pepper. When I go back and watch it, I would encourage you guys to go watch this video. On the women's side, and I'm just going to keep this to a top 5 because I want to get on into some community topics that I think, people are wild. But anyways, again, not a surprise with how week 1 went, right? When you consider that she went 359 compared to second place's 345 in week 1, why would you not predict that Marjam Von Rohr was going to take first in 25.2? So there she is again, her and Colton just running amok. With all this fitness, short frames, high engines, strong muscles. That's exactly the way that I would describe those athletes. What I'm most impressed with here is Fisa Ghafi. Second place here. I've followed Fee for many years. Clearly, she's a brute strength athlete, rolls with Matt Torres. And these performances here exhibit to me not just physical capacity, but psychological and emotional confidence. And again, following Brute the way that I have, because I came from within the Brute camp, I saw a lot of these coaches now come up through the ranks with the teen athletes and the athletes that they work with now. Um, to me, what I'm most impressed with for Fee is her maturation in the space through her years. And I mean, her ability to stay the test, to stay the course, to have ups and downs, and to now be second place going into the final week of the CrossFit Open to me is a really great thing. Um, Alasne, excuse me for this mispronunciation. Um, Ejizabel, Ejizabal, Agiezabal. Alasne Agiezabal. I will clean that up before I get on competition floor and ever cover you, Alasne. So I apologize if that is not how you say your name. But again, a second and third here is tremendous. Great consistency. A little bit unfamiliar with her, clearly, as I don't even know how to appropriately pronounce her name. And then we get into two familiar names that are tied here, fourth and fifth, for Caroline Prevost and Lucy Campbell. Lucy Campbell, again, put us all on recognition at Wadapalooza as she overtook Laura Horvath as one of the bigger names there that kind of people expected. And then Caroline Prevost, full-time teacher. Again, one of these athletes who I can use an example of has constantly been towards the top of our sport. When she wants to get gritty and go compete, it seems like she takes a spot and goes to compete at the highest level. And yet always been a part-time athlete and a full-time teacher. Now that does provide some off-season work and all these things, but she's got a tremendous athletic background. I think she has a great strength conditioning understanding for also how to keep herself ready and not overrun. And so, again, someone to look forward to. Lucy Campbell, understanding the sport, a pretty high level coach, head coach, previous gym owner, I believe, and now just coaching at an affiliate. Withstood an injury and now has fighting back to build capacity beyond where she was there. All really exciting and awesome stuff. Danielle Brandon, of course, right there on the cusp, only 1 point out from those two women. And I think, again, another brute strength athlete, from my understanding. I think she works directly with Coach L, and seems to be trending in a great direction. Now we know things about Danielle in regards to strength and where some limiters might happen for her. We get into some high volume, heavy hinging. We get into some heavy loads under duress below parallel. Like there's going to be some skewing here. So the question is, when you look at athletes' performance and know that their weakness hasn't been unveiled, is what kind of progress are they making currently at this time of the year on those weaknesses? And when they present themselves in an in-person semifinal, in an online semifinal, will they be able to show the fruits? And so that's what matters most, I believe, as we take a look at the leaderboard. But I want to get off that. Great update by the community, but it's kind of like more usual of what we expected, right? Like this is kind of run of the mill for names at the top or some names at the top. Was 25.2, aka 25, or I'm sorry, 22.3, a good test? Yes, it was. It was a great test. It was a great test for the community. It was, look, here's the hard truth about 22.3 as a repeat, is that this isn't the last week of the Open. A lot of times people, especially elite level athletes who are kind of building into their intensity at this time of the season, excuse me, aren't used to, for lack of a better description, blacking out in workouts at this time of year. By week 3 of the Open, you start to really become polished with your ability to hit something, maybe repeat it again on a Monday and get better results, game plan it better, hit tighter positions under duress, control your breathing a little bit more, and be able to sustain higher bouts of intensity for a similar working time or period. I say that to lean into understanding that because this workout was week 3 of the Open years ago when it presented itself, these athletes are at a bit of different time right now. So I could compare myself to the old me. Unfortunately, I couldn't do this one because I can't do bar muscle ups yet. I had a shoulder thing about 6.5 weeks ago, and I just barely got back to strict pull ups and some kipping pull ups. So I had to shut this one down and didn't participate. It hurt my heart because I would have loved to throw my hat in for the age group stuff this year. But you live and you learn. I'm going to have to turn my focus competitively to something else through the spring and summer. It doesn't matter. From a comparison perspective, this is a unique blend of skills and drills, but intensity has to be high. So what I mean by that is that it's very obvious for people who were new in the space in 2022, 2020, 2021, 2022. If you're finding your groove and new to the space, you probably killed your time this year. If you were a vet at that time and you had this combination of movements that increasingly gets heavier in load, increasingly gets more complex in skills, particularly if you were already a CrossFit Games athlete at that time, your margins for improvement were much smaller, right? Much smaller. And even at the top level, these athletes who went from being 21 years old or 22 years old to now 24, 25 years old, they of course saw improvements. It wasn't as linear or as obvious for athletes who had been in the space and are like priming 35 and above, 30 and above. Fitness levels change, day-to-day changes as we age up into different age groups. So thinking now 40 to 45 and 45 and beyond, a lot of us will start to lose capacity. Now, does that demand that we take a deeper look at our training? I hope so. If we're not still developing speed and strength as we age as a priority, now, can we fight Mother Nature? No. But can we design a program structure to withstand and hold on to and still develop speed? I believe that this is something that aging athletes need to do more better, is to use accommodating resistance, use band tension, use change, use isometrics, get strong in positions that have notoriously been weak, and not just abuse your body to try to hold on to the lifts that you previously knew as 1 rep maxes. You can get faster, you can get stronger in weaker positions. And then all of a sudden, when it's time to test and when it's time to be tested, you can overcome Mother Nature in certain instances. So my point to talking about this as a retest, I think it's fantastic because I think there's a big psychological blockade for many people. I think it's very challenging. It's not simple. It is complex. The order of operations lets it be known that this is a great test for everybody. You get to a point in this workout where you probably run into something that smacks you in the face. It could be the load, it could be the pull-up, it could be the double unders, depending on where you're at in your journey, but it's something for everyone to establish a baseline. Now, y'all, I don't know if you guys watched Dave Castro's Week in Review. I do, because why would you not keep up with the man, the myth, the legend, who is the ultimate final say in what really becomes our sport each and every year? Now, does he have a team? Absolutely. Is Boz a strong part of this? Is he kind of like Dave's counterpart or like counter perspective? I certainly hope so. But there's a team, and Dave is kind of the final say, right? Or a lot of the origin come from this man. You should pay attention. He's my boss, one of my bosses on the seminar staff. He's involved in so many different things, but you got to pay close attention and listen. But he answers some questions, and I want to tune you guys in. I'm going to screen share again, and I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to give you some thoughts I had on this Week in Review thing that he got going here. So listen up.
Shooting stuff, but I do enjoy it. At JL Craigle, love the show and love the workout so far. I'm hoping that 25.3 does not include wall walks, simply because they are no longer new, are not really a great test to separate the very elite. Further, there is a bias to the very thin athlete, given that the line is so close to the wall. Handstand push-ups, on the other hand, are not size bias, and those who can't do them can do the scaled workout. I wish there was a return to RX being RX and scaled being for everyone else. A lot to unpack there. Love the show and love the workouts. Thank you. Hoping that 25 does not include wall walks. I think we agree to disagree on their.
Okay. Wall walks. I hope there's not wall walks. I could care less if there's wall walks. The reason I'm sharing this is because people's opinion just blows my mind sometimes. I believe there was another opinion there that said like, hey, 25.2 is the reason like people don't sign up for the open, because there's things that are hard, essentially. Oh, I've been doing CrossFit since 2006, and there's double unders and pull-ups, or double unders and bar muscle ups. Excuse me, what? You've been doing this since 2006 and you can't do a double under? I would argue that you actually don't support the methodology. I would argue that you need to go into an affiliate and get coached. And if you've been going to an affiliate since 2006 and you still can't do a double under, and you didn't start when you were 82, we're talking problems. We're talking problems, right? We're talking either problems about your daily approaching your training, or the simple fact that you don't understand what practice looks like and the neurological adaptations that we seek in this sport. So you can't just come into the gym and get strong and smash your face. You need to actually get new skills and drills. That's a part of CrossFit. The demand for those skills is a part of CrossFit. You say you don't want to sign up for the open because there's double unders and pull-ups and you can't do them. You might want to second guess being a part of CrossFit. And I can say that because It's true. There's a mindset that comes with being a part of this community, and growth-oriented individuals should be a part of that. Now, will you have to eat your humble pie? Yeah, just like all of us. Because even if we can RX and do all the workouts, guess what I'm getting smacked in the face with? That I'm not as fit as I was in 2022. Or guess what I'm getting smacked in the face with? That everyone else in my gym cooked me and lapped me or finished 90 seconds before me. Right? There's an amount of humble pie that we all have to eat. Now, if you sign up for the open, your goal is to strategically be training to improve some of those things that you expect to come out. You should be training regularly the weaknesses that you expect to come out. You should be working on your double unders to get them. You should be working on your pull-ups to get them. No, every week in the open shouldn't be like week one. And if you guys think that, then again, I wouldn't sign up for the open, because you don't have any firm ground to stand on thinking that that's appropriate at all in any way, especially knowing that we are trying to find the 1% to advance them forward to semifinals. There has to be skills and drills, and you can scale the workout. But I would suggest you do the workout RX, go as far as you can. That way, if it is a repeat, you can go a little bit further. Then when you shut it down after making your run at RX, then you scale and you go hard and get a great training session in. And I know that people have echoed this throughout the years. Sometimes I think people don't listen. In fact, most times I know people don't listen. So folks, be aware of this. 22.5 or 25.2, excuse me, was a great test. It was a great retest, and it'll be a great reflection of some shaking up, maybe not in the top 30 or the top 40 of the semifinals, but after that, there's going to be some shaking up, because you had any Joe Schmo who was aerobically fit. I gave this example. I could have went and found we've got Layton High School has won the state championship in wrestling several years over. I could go get anyone from that high school that can do that can be, let's say, I'm going to go anybody above 175 or 180 weight class that they compete at, teach them how to do a dumbbell hang clean and jerk, and dust the majority of the world in 25.1. Right? I could go get a high school athlete that I'm going to just have them be about this frame of 175 or above so that they can handle the dumbbell adequately, because that will get hard for them. But from an engine perspective, I use this as an example because the fruit was so low hanging with skills and capacity that anyone could do it. And that's great. But you can't have every test be like that and have separation. Now, I'm going to step back and talk back to this guy who's saying, I hope there's wall walks that aren't present. There's no way to separate the everyday athlete to the elites or separate from the elites. What are you saying? What are you really talking about? Did you see the scores from week one, homie? If you saw the scores from week one, you would understand that, again, it doesn't matter how simple a workout is. It doesn't matter. There's always separation because we use data and it's measurable, quantifiable. And when we need it, we can repeat it and measure again. So consider this. If I race someone in a 100-meter dash and I beat them by 200ths of a second, I beat them. If Dave programs 50 wall walks for time and there's a disparity of 7 seconds between first and 20th place, there's disparity, and there's victor and there's loser. It's that simple. Now, to get a breadth of testing that involves skills and drills, and some skills and some high skills, some low skills, that is the responsibility of the testing committee and the programming committee, 100%. And I think right now through this flow, they're nailing it. So I think it's a good thing. I think the workout was great. I think there's always going to be skeptics and feedback, but I think sometimes those people need to be checked. And I think that Dave is in a position where he's doing the best he can to show patience and also deliver harsh truths. But I ain't, I don't serve in his role currently. And so I can say it exactly how I feel it. And I think some people need to go back and get a better understanding of what CrossFit is. Maybe they should sign up and take their level 1 before they decide to have a statement about it all at all. And no, I'm not saying if you're a member, you can't have a statement, you can't have a say in our community, but really first have a grasp and understanding of what the methodology is and what it stands for. Moving on. So what's this leave us with, folks? What is 25.3 going to look like? Well. What have we done and what have we not done? Well, we've had, in my opinion, 2 triplets, right? So that means 2 workouts, 3 movements each. So we have, of course, the dumbbell, hang, clean, and jerk. We had the walking lunge, and we had the lateral burpee. That went pretty long, 15 minutes. Week 2, we had a 12-minute time cap. For competitive athletes, what we'll categorize as RX, They were finishing this workout in under 12 minutes, 10 minutes and below. Elites were, again, finishing this thing below that 5:30 mark, a lot of them. Below 6 minutes, below 7 minutes. You get it. The majority of the crowd, like, think about where we're falling there, the intent behind the mind. And I'd love for Dave to come out and say that, like, hey, hey, when we program this, think about scaling so that you can nail. Like, if this was a class workout, what I would do is I would intend people to finish under 10 minutes. I would set a cap at 12, but I would intend people to finish in 10 minutes. And I would expect my burners to turn and burn that thing in 5 minutes or less, or 6 minutes or less. And that's okay. Movements. Again, a triplet. We had thrusters, we had double unders, and we had hanging. Now, notice I'm not getting into the weeds about, it was a pull-up, it was a chest to bar pull-up, it was a bar muscle-up. While the skill variations are different there, I wouldn't categorize it as 3 different hanging movements. So I'm not going to say that we can't hang again in week 3. Do we need to? Probably not in order to find who excels at those movements already. But would it be wrong if toes to bar were present? I don't think so. Because I'm going to call last week a triplet. Now, people will argue with me, people won't agree with me there, and that's okay. What I expect this week is a couplet, which means 2 movements. I believe that we need to see pulling from the ground. That could be a deadlift. That could be a snatch. We're not going to clean because technically it was a hang, clean, and jerk from week 1. We've gone overhead adequately, right? So we don't need to. So that really helps us sync on the deadlift. I would like to see something pretty disgusting. It could be box jump overs and deadlifts. Couplet. Earn your work, build your work. The barbell could build or it could be simple, right? It could be rounds for timer. It could be an AMRAP. I'm okay with whatever starts to come out of the hopper as long as we're pulling from the ground. We don't really need to get into more squatting because, of course, the thruster and even the lunge, categorically, it was a timekeeper. It was nothing fancy, but it mattered. It was there, right? And here's the reason I say it matters. And stay with me, folks. I'm getting a little long-winded. I wanted this to be under 30. I don't know if we'll make it. People said that the double unders didn't matter. Why don't you go ask Colton Mertens and Austin Hatfield and Jeff Adler and everyone who went even under 5 minutes at all if the double unders mattered? Because they did. Because if you messed them up, your time was slower. And every second counted for 100 of the 100 that finished in the top 100. And it's certainly going to matter for people who tried twice, maybe 3 times, and are on the cusp of making it. So how dare you say just because they're not in high volume that they don't matter? It's ignorant. It's literally an ignorant thing to say that double unders didn't really matter. What do you mean? There were people that shouldn't have to make them matter, and they screwed the pooch. They tripped on the jump rope. That cost them seconds. Then their body language changed. Then their mind changed. Then there was more pressure, right? Imagine getting off the rig and going straight to the barbell. It's a whole different workout without them. So be above that before you start opening your mouth and running it about how double unders don't matter. Or like even saying lunges don't matter in week 1. Because here's why they mattered. Not that they accumulated a ridiculous amount of fatigue. No. But it was a trap. It was a trap place for you to lose time or gain time on other competitors. And so psychologically, they mattered tremendously. And for everyday athletes, of course, both those movements mattered tremendously. So they do matter. And this is the same kind of person who would say that if you do Fran 21-15-9, it don't matter if you go 9-15-21. What? Take your strong hand and smack yourself. Because the psychological and intentional design for a workout or a test in any way, reps matter, what's placed where matters, the order matters, the rep scheme matters. All of that stuff matters because it's sport. It's not simply a physiological stimulus. If you want to get to, it was only X amount of double unders, 100 double unders or whatever, so physiologically, not a big deal. Again, it mattered in the output of your time and the order of everything else. Sorry for all these rants this week. Wow, I'm full of it. I had a double shot of espresso just before I fired this thing up, so maybe that was part of it. I don't know. My prediction, I'd like to see bust out the rower. Bust out the rower for these big boys in a barbell coming off the ground. Rower deadlift, box jump over deadlift. I'd love to see it. I would not be against building in load through, but to be honest, you don't need it. If the load is selected like moderate load, cyclical, get after it, it's going to be a challenge either way. And so I think that that's what we're in store for. One last little announcement here from a True Fitness perspective, as we just surpassed my time cap, is that the next focus for True Competitor is for us to really gear people in for a 6-week training block to peak their fitness going into the summer months. So what that means is that there will be intentional training that helps peak athletes for the online semifinal, for those that are going to be in the top 1%, for the age group athletes that are competing in that first weekend in April. Their training will be slightly different. Of course, they're going to be on a bit of an expedited 2-week block. There will be notes embedded in the training to help them understand and to navigate how to properly rest and taper and feel good going into their online semifinal. But that happens really fast. I believe it's the same weekend as the Mayhem Classic. And individual semifinals are going to be that first weekend in May. So it'll be, the first, second, third, and fourth, I believe, online. So all those things considered, we're going to help try to peak the whole group. And even if you don't advance, training will be similar to that. And the rationale behind that is that we're going to focus on developing overall fitness. We're going to help learn different strategies of movement redundancy, combinations that we see happen in online and in-person semifinals, and developing overall fitness. So everyone that's following a True Competitor variant, it could be True Competitor Pro, could be True Competitor Elite Strength, True Competitor Elite Endurance, or just True Competitor at large, are going to have an opportunity to, through the next 6 weeks, be in the fittest, be in the best shape that they could possibly be in order to try to help peak as many people as possible for this online semifinal. So that's what you can expect. Don't forget that we offer several different live programs. We have True Strength, we have True Endurance, we have True Gymnastics, all wonderful standalone programs, not just designed by me, but also our coach, Chris Clapier and Sheena Hammer. Chris is our strength conditioning specialist that really oversees a lot of our sport, meaning that, youth athletes, high school athletes that have strength as a weakness in CrossFit follow True Strength and get the results that they need through his design. And then Sheena Hammer is our gymnastics coach, a former Division I athlete that will be competing in the age group semifinals herself this year in the 40 to 44, and gym owner. And then, of course, right now we got some cool things in the works. Coach Luis Casali, who oversees our True Elite Competitor program and does a lot of the video feedback there for Olympic weightlifting, is recently also a double dipper, a High Rocks coach. So we're in the process, him and I collaborating on a 12-week High Rocks program that is going to help anyone that is 12 weeks out prepare for a High Rocks program. And that's not done and designed yet. But you can expect that within the next month and a half or so. I'll keep the content coming around the design there. So visit truefitness.com. If you're curious about anything and you're skeptical about, well, I don't know the flavor of the training, the website might not tell me quite enough, don't worry. This QR code right here in this corner, if you guys are listening to this, you're going to have to click the link in the show notes. But if you're watching this on YouTube, scan that QR code and it'll take you so you can get signed up for 7 days free of all access. That means you're going to get to see all the programs, watch the videos in order to get an idea of like how I address the crowd to get you ready to train at the beginning of each week or each day, depending on the program, and how we navigate some of the blocks that we're training for. But nonetheless, that's wrapping on week 2. We're going to see a great showdown in week 3. I didn't really talk about the leaks. I know I have that as a note. It's just something that I'm really disappointed in. I'm hearing that certain camps, of course, no workouts and all this kind of stuff. And leaks team are exactly where we can't have nice things, right? The way a leak happens, just so you know, is that someone tells someone else a workout and they trust them. They trust that person to not tell other people. They trust that person from an integrity perspective, a loyalty perspective, and a priority perspective for integrity of the sport. So if they're not prioritizing integrity of the sport and they feel like they want to tell someone just to feel like they're cool because, I know the workouts, or they want to tell someone to give them a competitive advantage, because I want you to know the workouts. All of it is a joke. All of it is disappointing. All of it is why we can't have great surprise, and we can't have a community full of people who just get excited about hearing something instead of I don't know why this is the case too, but all of this is really stupid. But people are like, yeah, there was a leak. Oh. Okay. You don't need to complain about it. It just was a leak and it was something that happened. Right. Like there's no need for us to be negative. Like, oh man, that's disappointing, but be disappointed in the people, not disappointed in the leak itself, because communication actually does have to happen here in order for this sport to go down. And I'll be honest with you guys. I worked the show last week. I knew the workout minutes before we went live. Minutes before we went live. They tell me minutes before we go live so that I have an opportunity to pull up some statistics, who won the previous years, if it's going to be a repeat, what the weights are, how I can navigate the flow of the workout, where I understand there will be time to talk and make some points, which, oh, by the way, 25.2, there were hardly any moments to do that because the action was so live and those women threw down so fast. It's clearly a fast workout for the elites. But broadcast, whose job it is to communicate clearly to you, only knows minutes. So the circle of people that know these workouts should be very small, in my opinion, and I think it is. Tighten up. Tighten up, people. If you find out the workouts, tighten it up. Stop trying to give other people competitive advantage, or stop trying to flex and think you're cool. Just stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. We got to stop the leaks, man. We got to be better. Anyways, I want to see the sport grow. I want to see the athletes continue to invest more in the community, because I want them to reap even richer rewards for the things that they can do, so they get more eyes on them. Sorry for all the rants. I think it's the caffeine talking. But as usual, keep rising, team. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and be on the lookout for me hopping on here as soon as I can once we know 25.3 officially, for tips and tricks, better known as prep, primer, and protocol. So have fun. Have a great rest of your week. Train hard. Semifinals will be right after this. It'll be real close. Keep rising.